This video is sponsored by RoboQuest for PS5. Stick around till the end of the video to learn more. Links in the description and pinned comment. Hideo Kojima's Metal Gear Solid spiritual successor gets an update. Capcom's Pragmata could be getting a reveal very soon, and a marathon update that looks pretty bad for the future of the game. All that and more in today's video. Please like the video, subscribe to never miss a gaming update, and share the video to help grow our community. We'll also be going over comment of the day. Be sure to leave a comment as you could be featured in the next video. Now let's talk about this Hideo Kojima spiritual successor to Metal Gear Solid, as this is a update on Physint and some really good news. Kojima explained that the idea to work on Physint after Death Stranding 2 on the beach occurred to him because he believed that his fans wanted him to make a game like something in the Metal Gear franchise. In quotes, "Of course, I have lots of new ideas that I want to create, but when I became sick during the pandemic, I realized that a lot of people wanted me to make something like Metal Gear. That's when I had the idea for a new espionage game. I reflected and thought the idea was good." Kojima also spoke about discussing the concept of Physint with Sony and the company agreeing. In quotes, "We explored many options and we agreed on doing Physint," he said. So clearly something that he's been thinking about for quite some time, especially because everybody fell in love with his work because of Metal Gear. So him making a bit of a spiritual successor makes a lot of sense. He goes on to say, "I cannot tell you so much now, but we plan to bring together cutting-edge technology and talent from around the world to create Physint. Of course, it is an interactive game, but it is also a movie at the same time in terms of look, story, theme, casting, acting, fashion, and sound. With this title, we hope to transcend the barriers between film and video games." And I'm always up for Kojima having these ambitious dreams and goals, as he's been able to do some incredible stuff that is really much out of the realm of the norm that we expect within the industry. So when he has an idea, most people are very intrigued by it because he's been known to execute these things quite well. Whether Death Stranding was your cup of tea or not, there is quite a fan base around that game, especially with the second one coming up, and there's a lot of people who swear by it and say it's one of the greatest stories ever written. So I have full faith that he's got something crazy brewing here, and that we're going to be very intrigued and interested in what he makes here. I'm actually more interested in this than I ever was in Death Stranding or Death Stranding 2, so I'm super excited to see where he goes with this, what he decides to do. But I'm going to ask you guys what you think of Physint and what are you hoping comes from this project. Of course, it is quite a ways away, but what are you looking for in a Hideo Kojima game that is not Metal Gear, but almost like a spiritual successor?
They came back to get revenge on you and me.
Next, we are talking about Pragmata. Guys, this is a game that we saw at a PlayStation showcase a long time ago that looked really interesting. People were intrigued by this new Capcom IP, and we wanted more, and we wanted to see more. Well, about 2 years ago, or almost, they decided that they were going to delay it, and they let us know that they were going to delay Pragmata, and people were wondering, hey, well, what's happening here? What's happening with Pragmata? When are we going to see this game? Well, Aesthetic Gamer, aka Dust Golem, has quote tweeted somebody who was asking that question. Have you heard anything about Pragmata? And he says, not much, but Pragmata is at least certainly still in development as of a few months ago, not canceled or anything. I'm super interested in it myself. I have a gut feeling it'll come out something special. So saying, hey, it's still in development and it's not canceled. Yeah, I mean, that's something there. And also says that they believe that it's going to be something special. But what I also noticed is Lunatic Ignis, also known to leak announcements and other things, says, yeah, I guess we'll see it this summer again. Hope it's indeed the first REX engine game. So it sounds like Lunatic Ignis is actually saying that this game will be seen this summer. And what do we have coming up next? Summer Game Fest. So this is a very interesting situation where we could be seeing this game at Summer Game Fest. We've also got Sony's event happening in June as well. So it could very well be then that we see Pragmata again. So very exciting stuff. Like I'm super interested in the game. Obviously, we haven't seen too much of it. Like it's really not enough for us to know exactly what they're going for here, but the theme, the aesthetic, the design, everything about it speaks to me personally, and it interests me. And in fact, we're just talking about Kojima, but a lot of people thought that that game originally at first glance was a Kojima game. So I'm very intrigued to see what they do with Pragmata. It looks good, and I hope they can truly deliver on this project. Let me know what you guys think of Pragmata. Are you expecting to see it this year? Was it a game that caught your attention, and would you play this game? Or do you need a little more time to make up your mind with more content available to us? Now, lastly, we're going to talk about Marathon. Obviously, there's been so much around Marathon, a lot of bad news. We're going to talk about some new stuff, and we're going to just recap on what's going on. But following the whole art theft controversy, several reports have now painted a pretty troubling picture of what's happening behind the scenes at Bungie. Multiple sources say morale among the developers is in free fall, with many team members feeling frustrated by leadership decisions and the overall direction of the project. Some have even gone as far as calling Marathon's leadership toxic and humiliating to work with, saying that warnings about focusing only on PvP were brought up early on, but were completely ignored by higher-ups. On top of that, another report claimed that after the mixed reaction to the closed alpha, Bungie pushed back its marketing and pre-order plans that were supposed to go live in June, and the big open beta was replaced with public playtests. So now a new report claims that Sony has canceled all paid marketing plans for Marathon. This information comes from Colin Moriarty, who runs Last Stand Media, and he does the Sacred Symbols podcast. In quotes, "I was told by someone familiar with marketing plans in a key overseas market that there are now no plans to do paid marketing for Marathon at all. I don't know if those plans were affected by what has recently happened or if that was always a plan or whatever, but it is considered a fairly unusual move for a game of this high profile." And so naturally, this kind of update being true, if it is true, I mean, Colin Moriarty is a pretty solid source as far as this kind of stuff goes. I think that this likely spells some sort of delay or something happening for Marathon. I mean, I personally feel like this game could very well get delayed, or it could possibly even get canceled. I think it's going to take a lot for Sony to just completely pull the plug, but at the same time, I feel like there's so much bad news surrounding this game. It's hard to really launch this game even at a later date and not have this kind of stuff pop back up. There's too much negativity around this title. On top of that, I just feel like you either got to be like, all right, I'm going to drop this game when we plan, or we're just going to cancel it. Because at some point, more time isn't necessarily going to get rid of this kind of like news around it. That's not going to really make it go away or make it any better. And I also feel like whatever people are feeling about this game is also not going to really change. I really think that this whole extraction shooter genre is being overplayed. I really think that it's a mistake. And when we look at even fair games and what's being said about fair games, apparently that's another type of extraction shooter. And I just don't get it. I don't understand why there's a focus from these teams on extraction shooters. This is clearly not as appealing as people think it is, right? Like, there are some successful extraction shooters, but I don't think Marathon is going to be that. I also don't think Fair Games is going to be that. I think Marathon has a better chance, in fact, and I think there will be a small audience that does like it, but I don't know if it's enough to keep Marathon afloat and running for years and years to come. So whatever Sony does with this title, it's clear that if this is true, something crazy is happening behind the scenes. They're probably pushing it back, or in a worst case, canceling it. And if that's happening, I don't know where Bungie stands at this point, because they spent a lot of money on Bungie, and Bungie has not delivered. They have not delivered anything at all outside of the Destiny stuff, which even that has been under-delivered as far as what they spent on Bungie. It's tough to, be like, hey, Bungie is a phenomenal team and we should keep them around if they're not even producing games that are able to justify the purchase price, which they simply are not. And that's where my concerns lie as far as what could happen for the future of Bungie and, Marathon. Personally, I did not connect with Marathon. I played it. It really just genuinely wasn't for me. And I'm somebody who plays these type of games. So it's really, just concerning, to say the least. So let me know what you guys think about Marathon. Do you think it's going to get canceled? Do you think it's going to get pushed back? Or do you think it's going to launch the day it's expected? They're just going to pull all the marketing that they were intending to do because they don't have much faith in this title. Now, lastly, we're going to talk about comment of the day. It comes from @DEGZE. I don't know if that's right, but hey, I tried my best. He says, "We dearly missed the E3 showcase to kick game publishers up the bum to show off games. Missed the hype. And you know, E3 was a big time of the year for me as a gamer, right? Like that was our Super Bowl, that was our World Cup, that was our big event where we would gather around and, you know, with friends and watch the event. And at least that's what we did. I mean, a bunch of friends get together, we'd watch the E3 press conferences, the big ones, right? The Microsoft, the PlayStation, the Nintendo, and some other publishers as well, depending on what your interests were. And yeah, man, it was really exciting. It was that time of the year where you knew you were going to get a bunch of incredible showings, like at least a bunch of trailers that would really get you excited. And unfortunately, that is completely gone. But it has been replaced with Summer Game Fest, which is not as good. And it has been replaced with the Game Awards, which again, the reels aren't always on point there either. And then we've also got a bunch of other stuff like the State of Plays, the Nintendo Directs, the Xbox showcases themselves. They have their own games directs and showcases, whatever they call them. So it seems like everyone's kind of gone their own way. And we get the game announcements, but it's not all at once or all in one big showing, which is what a lot of people miss, right? And it's understandable, as I definitely miss that as well. I really wish we did still have that, but it is what it is. It's just part of the industry changing and moving. And at the moment, it's Jeff Keighley's thing, right? Like where he does his 3 shows a year. I think it's 3 shows. There's Gamescom one, there's the Summer Game Fest, and obviously the Game Awards. So it's something that we have as an alternative, but it's definitely never going to meet the hype of like E3 showcases, right? Where we had a bunch of publishers go and game platforms go, and like that's just what it is, right? It's part of history at this point. But yeah, I fondly think back on E3 days, and it is what it is, man. I would have loved to go to one before it ended, but I guess that's done now, so we're pretty much not having that as a possibility for any of us interested to go. But let me know what you guys think about E3. Do you miss E3? And what do you also think about these updates on the games, right? Physint update, we've got Pragmata, and of course, the marathon situation as well. Now for a quick word from our sponsor of today's video. RoboQuest is finally launching on PlayStation 5 today, and it is incredible to play on console. If you haven't played it yet, or if you're coming back for more, this is the version to jump into. You're getting 4K 60 frames per second, lightning fast loading, and the DualSense controller takes it up a notch with adaptive triggers and haptic feedback that make every weapon feel even punchier. RoboQuest is a fast-paced co-op roguelite FPS where every run gives you new weapons with randomized stats and modifiers, shotguns, snipers, mortars, even flare guns, all feeling insanely satisfying to use. Choose your Guardian class, customize your build as you go, and dive through randomized levels that keep every playthrough feeling fresh. Whether you're playing solo or in co-op, the run, gun, upgrade, die loop is super addicting, and with all major updates included, the PS5 version is the most complete one yet. So if you're ready to blast through waves of evil bots and build your perfect loadout, check out RoboQuest on the PlayStation Store, available today on PS5. More details and links will be in the description and the pinned comment.